There we go, very flat Goodison Park tonight. Everton 1, Palace 1. Everton scored in about 85th minute, but no rapturous celebrations really. The ground's pretty much empty already. And yeah, being honest, I thought Everton were pretty abject for about 80 minutes of that football match. I've never seen 11 lads in blue more terrified of a football in my life. Just no movements off the ball, no patterns of play, no confidence to show what they're about. And it was absolutely grim, really. And we had a great chance there. Palace in bits off the pitch. 4 of the best players out, probably their 4 best players out. But until they went ahead, I think they probably just shaded it, and then he sat in and we scored from the set piece. But goodness me, that was a hard watch, really hard watch. And you sort of look at the next fixtures, you look at Brighton away, and I know we won there last season, but you think that'll be a tougher game, and you wonder what's next, because this team needs something. I don't know if it needs some points back, I don't know if it needs a change of system, a change of personnel, but it needs something different, because at the moment we're just turgidly on our way to the bottom 3. I know we're out of it tonight, but which is the one positive really, but I don't know. I don't know what these lads need. It's just it feels like all ingenuity and expression's been stamped out, and all we're left is a tired squad, a jaded squad, who can't play with the intensity and spite and aggression that they had earlier in the season, and there we are. But yeah, enough of me rambling anyway. We'll hear what everybody else thinks. Back at the boozer shortly. Right, we are back in the Denbigh Castle after that. I'm joined by Mark Mosey and Dave Downey for now. I might have more joining us as we go on. Mark, I've got a migraine after watching that. How do you feel?
I don't think I've got that much emotion in me to be impacted by what was potentially one of the worst Everton performances and just general football matches that we've seen in the last few seasons. And for anyone who's not been watching, we've seen some bad football matches. How that has ended up on a live television broadcast for all of the country to see is fully beyond me. But I think the sad thing about it was hard to take enjoyment out of any of it, and I include Everton scoring a goal. It was really difficult to get up for the fact that, we'd obviously managed to rescue a point and potentially had 10 minutes to win a game. It was hard to care, and I think you summarised it as soon as I saw you, Matt, after the game, and said you often watch Everton now thinking where is our next creative move or our next goal coming from, but it's where is our next corner or free kick on the halfway line coming from. And they look like a team that are just totally void of any form of ideas. There was one amusing point during the first half where mid counter-attack one of our wingers decided to cut back and try and play for a foul on the halfway line, because that was generally seen by everyone as a better opportunity to score a goal. The harrowing stat that you mentioned earlier, Matt, of Everton not scoring a goal in open play for 10 games now is just it's hard to comprehend how disturbing that really is. And be it losing games or winning games over recent weeks, I've happily come on here and said that I appreciate why he's here and what has to happen at Everton at the moment, just because of the situation that we're in. But you can't, and no one can look me in the face and tell me that Sean Dyche is what they want to come and see every single week, because that for me tonight was just the epitome of what having Sean Dyche as your manager ultimately becomes. It's just there's no idea. It almost looks as though the lads have been taken by surprise when they have the ball and have to somehow think about how they progress that ball up the pitch. And if it isn't James Tarkowski just levering it 70 yards diagonally, then there isn't much else going on there. And it's hard to see where it ends, because as long as he is here, that is the brand of football that we have all bought into. And for a while, it's quite funny because we're massive and we score goals from set pieces. But I think it really hit me tonight when Onana's header hit the back of the net, and I just thought, yeah, we all want that to happen, but I can't really take any form of enjoyment about it, because it's boring yard dog footy week after week.
It's so passive when you watch us play. That's what's so annoying there. From what Mark said, I think it's spot on. And when we've had these sort of situations when Lampard was in there, the Palace game, everyone sort of remembers the last 2 years and how shit we were. But we all had something that felt to properly fight for, didn't we? We were all looking at a game where we desperately need points in this one. I'm watching that thinking it just felt so. The feeling, it felt inevitable to me that we're never going to get in those positions where something decent will happen in a game. Those type of things that used to happen in a game that kicked everyone's arse up. We're all on our toes screaming at the game. I think we mentioned it last week, Matt, about that sort of scenario where the fans need to get the fucking team going, or the team needs to get the fans going, and you saw neither of that tonight. It was so flat. And to get that draw, I said to you, didn't I, Matt? We disagreed about it here. I'd be gutted if I was a Palace fan there. Not for the sake of getting it last, but I thought Palace were a better team than us. It was two dreadful sides. The goal they scored was an absolute peach of a goal that Ayew scores as well. Probably deserves to win any game. But what really gets me is it was back again to Dyche deciding he needs to get to 70. Well, I lied this week. He got to 65 before he made the sub. And when he does, he puts Harrison on there on the right hand side for Young. What difference are you seeing there? You seeing much difference at all?
Yeah.
Other than someone who's a bit quicker and puts a shitty left hand ball in?
I think you are, but
you seeing, I meant that in the terms of Young's that bad, you're putting somebody on who's slightly better than him. It's not really difficult to do that, is it? Is it difficult for Harrison to be better than Young?
Don't put a lad there who's on loan, put him on the pitch. And we're not calling him after 2/3 of the season, but I think we've all collectively seen enough to know that Jack Harrison is never going to set that stadium alight. We've seen someone in Lewis Dobbin who, yes, is very raw, very young, and you know what, he's a big shrug of the shoulders at the moment. But are we all not ready to just find out with 25 minutes of a game against an awful Crystal Palace side whether he is able to affect the game or not? How many? We've seen him get 7 or 8 minutes here and there, and thought, he looks like he's got a bit of a spark about him. He could probably do something a bit different, get to the byline, put a slightly different type of cross in. And ultimately we see Harrison cut inside on his left foot and meticulously find that first man. I mean, if he practices that in training, then, fair play to him, because he's ace at perfecting it. But I think we're all ready to just see something a little bit different. And I think Sean Dyche is so one-trick pony that I feel like we're just watching the same game every single week. And granted we are, because we play Crystal Palace every single week. But it does feel as though we're in this kind of chasm of shit footy, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get out of it. I don't really know how we do. Do we have to get relegated and then kind of take a punt on an out there manager to kind of then rebuild the football team just to see something a bit different? Or do we just buy into the fact that the next 4 or 5 years are going to be what the 4 or 5 years we've just had are, and we just kind of cycle through pathetic managers who just, in inverted commas, do what they can with what they have? We do feel a little bit stuck and a bit kind of treading water at the moment, don't we?
Yeah, Yeah, Matt and Ed are joining us as well now. A lot to take in there, Matt, but what are your thoughts in general on the game and what the lads have said so far?
A hard 4 points, an outstanding result that drags us out the bottom 3.
Is that Luton with 2 games in hand now, by the way? It's the one.
Yeah, it's Bournemouth. It's Bournemouth. No, in all seriousness though, like, silver lining is we're out the bottom 3 and it's another 0.1 from a losing position. Never should have got that bad. I know that much. In terms of the tactics, I don't think Sean Dyche sent them out there to volley it over Doucouré's head straight to Calvert-Lewin. I don't know what they were doing there, and I'm sure he'll be just as frustrated as we were, because we've seen us this season actually play it through the middle of Doucouré barging through teams on the deck, not just hoofing it up. We've been doing that for the past few games because we haven't had Doucouré there. It's like no one told, especially Tarkowski, and whenever he had a set piece, Garner, like no one told him that Doucouré was back on the pitch. I think for the first 10 minutes, only one of them actually put it on his toes. But I do think the football will change and will improve. The things that do need to change are they need to turn around. They don't stand there with your back to goal for the entire match. Every single one of them, 2 man, stands there with the back to goal, and by the time they get the ball, there's 2 players on them before they can even look. And the other one is we need to stop passing the ball directly to feet. Every single pass is just straight on the toes. Like, put it in front of someone for once in your life.
I just think we're bad at all passing. Like, we can't play intricate passing into midfield.
It's not intricate to put the ball 5 yards in front of someone so they can run onto it.
We can't even do that. I think Calvert-Lewin misses 2 good chances tonight, doesn't he? But I actually thought when he was up front on his own, he did all right at times with the service he had, because it was all just like balls launched up to him. It was balls like bouncing in front of him, and like. It's like what do you expect them to do with that? I do sort of watch us and think, sorry, I'll come to you next, Ed, and it's like, do they do any passing in midweek, like at Finch Farm, or is it all just about like shape, set piece, and like I'm not protect the V? Oh my god, yeah. But it's like, you know, I don't think it's any coincidence that as we've got more Dyche-ified, if you will, the goals from open play have dried up, and the goals from set pieces have kind of been like our only thing. Like, I don't think it's any coincidence. I think the other thing as well is obviously that the team is looking a bit fucked, because the same 13 players or so have been run into the ground because he doesn't make substitutions. The squad's not good. And some of that's his fault, some of it's not his fault, but that edge we had, I think, when you look back to the games we won 4 in a row, where we had Forest, we had the 2 home games, and then we went to Burnley and did a bit of a job on them. But those 2 home games in particular against Newcastle and Chelsea, like I don't think the tactics were too different, but there was just like an edge and a bit of intensity about us. That's gone now. That's been stamped out, I think, by the origins of a Premier League season when you've got a small squad, and by the tactics that we're employing now as well, because no one looks like they're enjoying it anymore. It looks like a slog for everybody, and I think at full time, like anyone who listens to like the bit of recorded there in the ground, it's like it was full time. We scored a goal in the 85th, 6 minutes to equalise, and it's like, oh god. Like, everyone was like, oh god, I can't believe I came and watched that. I can't believe I gave 2 hours to come and watch that, and it just feels like the edge and the intensity and that little bit of spite we had in our play in that good run has completely gone. Ed, sorry, I'll come to you, not me.
Just before on that, man.
Ed's not said anything yet, Dave, come on.
I was just going to say, the point you made there, how easy is it for the opposition to just have a look at what we've done and just make it really, really easy to play against us and stop? I mean, that's what repeating what I said there. Palace would be gutted there. Not because they played that much better, but because they were the side that should have won the game, because it was so predictable what we had. Sorry.
Yeah, sums it up well, boys. Cheers, nice one. No, I think we were missing 3 things today, and I think that was inventiveness, I think it was intelligence and intensity, like you've already said. And the intelligence is the big one for me. A lot of really poor decisions that you just expect better from Premier League grade footballers. I think certainly in the first half, Idrissa Gana Gueye made some fairly intelligent positions. He was intercepting the ball well, laying the ball off in the right places, but obviously he's way back down the pitch. What I didn't like from Calvert-Lewin, I will defend Calvert-Lewin a lot, is he was constantly working off the 2 centre-backs. All he was doing, competing with the 2 centre-backs, coming deep in front of them, and not making those runs between the centre-back and the full-back, which is where the space was, ultimately. And if we were playing those balls as those channels, yes, he's not on goal, but maybe you could cut in 2 goal or hold it up. They're the sort of things we're doing. McNeil didn't beat a player. Young didn't beat a player. Young can't beat an egg, so fair enough. But McNeil can actually go past players. And it's kind of...
Like, genuinely.
When
has he done that?
September. It's a long time
Last
ago.
season.
But that's kind of the point. There will be some people who will say, erroneously, the players are scared to make mistakes at Goodison. They're not. They're just scared to make mistakes. They do not take opportunities. And like you're saying, just try something different. Even if it's a different player, like a Dobbin type. Or it's the same players who go, you know what? I played the ball to Mikalenko last time. This time, I'm going to push the ball forwards and see what happens. And we might win a throw-in. And we might be pushed 5 yards up the pitch and we might go up the pitch. And then maybe when we take the throw-in, maybe a player will go, oh, you know what? I won't stand here and wait to be out-headed. I might actually move into space and collect the ball.
On every single throw-in with the head.
It's bizarre, honestly. And there's 2 elements. The players have got to be cleverer, and Dyche has got to try and coach these things into them. There's 2 sides to it. But the ultimate point that we've made is we are very, very predictable. We know what's going to happen, and yet we still pay money to go. So who's the real sucker? The opposition know what we're going to do. And even the players know what they're going to do, and they decide that's safe, we'll do that. I don't want to see us start blowing shots from 30 yards, especially not Adjuster Gay, who, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be banned from shooting ever. But try something different. We might get a different result. And with 8 games without a winning the league now, that's what we need. We need something different.
I don't think the players are being asked to be intelligent. I totally agree with you in terms of they're very exciting, the words that you've mentioned, and they're all things that as Evertonians we want to see our team play with. The epitome, as you were speaking then, I was trying to think of a player who is probably affected by a lack of those things. And I came out of the ground and criticised him tonight, and it was James Garner, because I just don't think I always have in my mind when his name is on the team sheet that I have an idea of what I want him to be. And the player that I think he should be. And Crystal Palace at home, the terrifying fixture list we've got in the next few weeks, that includes people like Sheffield United and, to a lesser extent Brighton, but like in inverted commas, winnable games. James Garner's probably the man you look at, isn't it? And say, well, get on the ball, be inventive, be creative, do all of these things. Is it him in a poor run of form, or is it him playing for Sean Dyche? And him, does he necessarily go out and buy a player like that? And does he say in training on a Wednesday, we've got Sheffield United coming up at the weekend, we need to obviously be a little bit more concerned, Burnley, Forest, the other teams that are coming up in the next few weeks. Does he say to him, you need to go to James Tarkowski, get on the ball, spray it out wide, maybe look for a through ball to decorate, link up, be that box-to-box midfielder? Or is it way more restrictive than that? And I know that you're being a bit tongue-in-cheek, Matt, when you say, is it very basic in training? Is it all about strategy and shape and all these things? None of us are there, but I would harbour a guess that it absolutely is. There is no way looking at that side. And I know, after a bad performance, you always say, what have they done in training, etc., etc. I genuinely do not think that there is a lot of on-the-ball possessive play, and how are we going to construct our attacks going on? Because we've got a lot of one-dimensional players. You talk about how we pass the football and why we don't pass it into space and be that little bit more dynamic. Look at the players we've got. Would you pass a ball into space to Dwight McNeil or Ashley Young? Absolutely not. Even to an extent, Calvert-Lewin. And I know Ed talks about the types of runs that you want to see him make. That lad has had it drilled into his head since the days of Carlo Ancelotti that you do not move outside the lines of the 6-yard box, because that is the type of striker that he excelled at being in that time. And I think he's genuinely got it in his mind now that I can't go outside of, even if you expand it to the lines of the 18-yard box. His game is very restrictive, isn't it? To, can I get on the end of a Dwight McNeil cross, or can I feed off a scrap from a set piece? I don't know if predictable is the right word, because as much as how Everton goals are formed, it can be quite hard to defend, because we do have a lot of massive lads, which someone should put on a flag. But I'm trying to draw the line between where players are not performing or where they're being asked not to perform in the way that we all want them to be, and that's where it's hard to think of kind of a future forward-thinking Everton, because it's very hard to break the cycle of someone who is kind of shackling your players to an extent. Does James Garner and Sean Dyche and Everton in that triangle ever really work? I don't really think so. As we all watch Jesse Marsh try and tactically analyse a game on Stanley Park.
He's not tactically analysing our game. He's given a coaching masterclass of his lead side, which, by the way, he took down.
I think they lost this game as well.
He's touching the wall. I don't think you're allowed to touch the wall in there. Going back to what Mark said there, I mean, just to ask what he said then about him being in those lines in the 6-yard box, are you saying there's a sympathy with him given the deliveries he gets put in? Because I think we mentioned a few times, almost quite infamous, the goal he scored against Leeds away that year when we had Benitez, where it gets fizzed into when he's in the inside the 6-yard box, flicks it, it's a goal. I don't see that sort of movement you're getting from wingers that we've got, so I have a little bit of sympathy with him there, and I got hammered for it on Twitter for saying this about the game against Man City. What is he expected to do at times? And that's where I'm looking at Dyche and thinking, surely you're going in there on a Monday morning or Tuesday, whenever it is, thinking, do you know what, he's got Steve Stone next to him, I'd rather have than Ashley Young, and you've got Ian Woner, you've got lads who are actually decent footballers. How would the three of them looking at this, thinking this is the best way we get through this? And we've done it a few times, me and Les had a massive feedback from people saying you can't say that you don't want Sean Dyche as the manager, and I'm certainly not saying that now at this point, but I tell you what, if you want to stay in the Premier League regardless of this 10-point thing, you've got to come up with something different to that, and I just don't see what we have to do that really. And people will say to me I'm having too much sympathy towards Calvert-Lewin there, but you know, you're at home and you're still struggling to get a decent chance with your foot on the ball. That's what gets me, someone having a shot. I mean, I said jokingly on our group chat that Idrissa Gueye's having a shot. I just wanted to get off after he did so, because I've never seen him hit the ball properly, apart from ironically away at Palace when he told one in. And you're going back to that midfield position there, Matt. There's simple things for professional players. Putting the ball a couple of yards in front of somebody who can just take the ball on as they are moving forward. With us, it goes straight back. How many times did it go back to Branthwaite and Tarkovsky? And then you're right, Tarkovsky playing that diagonal all the time to, let's face it, is McNeil any good in the air? What else can he play towards him?
It's percentage footy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's essentially playing territory rugby there, because he knows that, you know, if God forbid, even if the ball goes out of play in that final third,
Dave, you know, out of play, you're getting the ball up the line. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, and it's very hard, because even as a match going Evertonian, you watch that and think, oh God, I know that's the best thing for us, but I don't want that to be the best thing for us. And it's a really, really difficult watch. I agree with you in terms of, I think you justify everything that Sean Dyche is by saying he's what we need right now. I'm thinking if we didn't have him and we went down the Jesse Marsh route, if we went down the route of just anyone else, like an anti-Dyche, could it be so much worse? It probably it potentially could, because our footballers are probably not good enough to install any form of other plan. But it's nights like tonight where I just think I'm ready to find out.
Can I just say as a caveat, despite this season worst run, on the basis of the performance and the points the team have accrued, we would be in 12th place. That's not atrocious. It's not good, but it's not atrocious. It's not actually relegation style football. It's just mid-table drudge, which is what we're after. But we are in a position where we need to pick up points, and we're not doing so. So that's where the problems arise.
I think now though, what I've been trying to say, keep in my head, is that the first half of the season we were 10 points better than all those teams, and we look like a team that was 10 points better. Now I don't think we do. We lost to Luton at home in the cup. I think pretty much every team, maybe apart from Burnley and Sheffield United, beat that Palace team at home tonight. Given the circumstances and the players they had else, they were pretty dreadful. Really, and I think, I don't know. You look at it, how much better an opportunity can you have than that? You know, a team that's lost the manager, that's got the 4 best players out injured. Didn't even bring a big away following. It's Goodison Park, we should be up and at it. We had our best player back in the teams. that should have been like a great chance for us to go and win a football match after so long, and we spewed it really.
You've seen Everton before, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean I have, yeah. But
First time.
you know what I mean? It's like,
We were saying on the way back, do you think Dyche's job is safer because of the 10-point deduction that we got?
No.
I think it is. I think if we're languishing in, I say languishing, if we're at the lofty heights of 12th place and we're sitting on, 30 points that we'd be on now, do you watch that style of football and, rattle off all the stats we have about how poor Everton have been in the last 10 games and say, well, maybe we change direction here? Or the problem now is that if you sack Sean Dyche when you're 17th in the season, you go out and find a Sean Dyche, and that's the horror of the situation that we're in.
Well, the job's safe for two reasons. One is, like Ed said, we're a 12th place side in terms of points won this season. That's what compared to literally scraping on the last day, like basically twice. Like, may as well have been the last day of the Palace game. And the other reason is that there's not actually anyone who can sack him. We don't actually have a board right now. we have a building contracts manager as an interim chief executive. Like, I don't think we have any actual funds to pay him off.
just some funny moments.
He's essentially chairman at the moment, isn't he?
Just some funny moments in general I wanted to talk about. Jordan Pickford, I mean, what was going on with him tonight? The throw in the first half to nobody when none of our players were looking was amazing. And then he sliced about 4 or 5 kicks out of play. I mean...
The quick free kick as well.
Yeah. I mean, had he banged his head before coming out or something? I mean, what was going on there?
He was on overdrive. I don't know what he'd taken before the game, but how many times he turned to everyone with his gloves out going, calm down. Most of the game he was doing that to people, but there was one that got rolled back to him and I'm sure he was thinking like, there's someone on the run there, and he hit it, completely sliced it out to the bullens, and people started booing him. He turned around, he's going like that, calm down. It was a bit of a mad one from him. Like, I was glad there weren't so much shots on him.
Have I completely hallucinated this, or did Tarkowski just get completely fed up and take a free kick in his 6-yard box? Because they were arguing and he just boots it away and he's like that. And he just walked off.
And he still kept telling him to calm down.
Tarkowski was also like just constantly carrying the ball out and just launching it like into our left back position. It was like some of the passes were really good, but otherwise it was like, what are you doing, mate? Yeah. It was all...
Again, Corey's back.
It was the Richard Wright diagonal, mate. It's just, maybe you're too old to remember this, when you get the ball and try and ping it to Steve Watson all the time. That's exactly what it was like. And like I said, you're knocking it to 2 wingers. One's Ashley Young, I don't think he's won a header in his career, and McNeil. You're not getting him heading the ball, are you? Like Mark said before, all you're hoping there is that you get a throw in 50-60 yards down the pitch, and that's it. Is that something he's getting thrown in by Dyche? I would probably say he is. That's sort of the tactics we're doing.
McNeil needs a break, by the way. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge Harrison fan, but if I was going to drop one of the two tonight, it would have been McNeil. Like, he is so far off it at the moment.
Who'd you put in? Cobbin?
I think if you're going to play Young, I'd probably play him on the left because you can at least cut in a bit and do some of that. But
I'd drop them both, to be honest. For one game at least, I'd have Dobbin and Harrison. I thought when Harrison came on, he was the only player who actually took a beat, put his foot on the ball and thought about what he was going to do. He didn't just aimlessly boot it as fast as he could. And
it's the quality. We sort of disagree when we were looking at each other before. It's just the lack of quality he's got. When he cuts inside on his left foot, fine, done well there, whips it in, first defender just heads it away. There was one point where he gets it towards the end there and he puts an absolute pizza of a crossing and no one gets to it. But I look at him like whenever he's on the pitch, when he's normally starting for the full 90, and I'm thinking, when do we see that happen? Twice, if anything. And he's, he loves fighting. You can't knock him for how hard he is. He just throws himself at everything. Fair play. But he just shows to me why he's a championship player. Why Leeds are happy to let him go on alone, even though they all adore him down there. He's not a Premier League player for me yet. He's getting a lot of game time for us, but then that also shows you the situation that we're in, doesn't it?
Did anyone play well? Anyone get a mention?
Godfrey was good. Thought Godfrey was really good again. Wasn't happy with what he did. Defended well. I think he's looked all right in the last few games. Obviously, Dice seems to despise Patterson, so he looks like he's getting a game ahead of Seamus, and he's done fine for me.
I thought the one moment in the game where I was excited was when Godfrey burst forward in the second half and like cut inside and then played a pass out. I was like, wow, that's one of our players running with the ball and like actually doing a good pass on the front foot. It was really exciting.
You can see his brain thinking, oh, the gaffer's going to be furious here.
We're on the bench next week, there, Goffers. You know what I mean?
He was also responsible for my favourite moment of the game, where he tried to substitute himself off before realising it was the Palace number 22's going.
I've had enough of this, lads. I've had enough. Give me an applause. I'm walking around there now.
The reverse Amakachi.
That was so funny. Yeah. And Onana, great leap header, some great cheerleading as well when he came on. He really got stuck into that.
There was one moment as well where Onana had the ball in his half and he played a vertical pass on the ground forward to Calvert-Lewin in a pocket of space. Yeah. Wow, next level thinking that. That's why he plays for Belgium. Incredible. I wish we could do that more.
Why is he not starting, by the way? Anyone know why he's not?
I can only assume it's kind of this phased recovery thing that apparently we can afford to do whilst in 18th place.
Just couldn't be arsed or turned up late like Beckford did in that one game. Probably did that early. I have no idea why he doesn't start. He was 100% fit. He should be, shouldn't he? He should be starting the game, especially your mate James Garner in the middle. He should be starting ahead of him, very, very least.
Well, I do think Onana obviously did have a good spell, but Denbigh to see me was the very first thing he did on the pitch, lose Jordan Ayew for the goal.
You were not switched on at all for that free kick. Like, you were saying they were having a chat.
He comes on and has a bit of a chat with Godfrey. What tactically those two lads have to talk to each other about, I do not know. But it ultimately ends in Ben Godfrey losing a header to, I think it was Edouard. And as you say, Onana not being anywhere near Jordan Ayew. So
there's no chance of doing anything other than talking about it if they watched The Masked Singer at the weekend or whatever. Like they would. Their brains were not in operation at that point.
Prime subscription for the Real Housewives of Ogley Edge.
Definitely OnlyFans or something. Those two.
I totally forgot Godfrey tried to bring himself off. That was hilarious. Oh God, amazing.
It was the best sprint I saw from an Everton player all night as well.
He was so keen to be off the pitch, wasn't he?
You wouldn't have seen it, but Gomez and Danjuma sitting next to each other in the stand looked like they were having the best night of their lives, honestly, proper laughing their heads off at each other when we gone 1-0 down as well.
You just walked in here.
That's it, yeah. They just got there, like, dropped Onana off in a taxi so we could finally get on the pitch. You know, aside from laughing like that, I think that's all we've got in games like that, really, haven't we? To take the piss a little bit for 5 minutes at the end of all this. But
I mean, at least we got Brighton next to we smashed last season 5-1. So yeah, you know.
It's shite, aren't they? So we'll be fine.
Same again, at least for the lads this weekend. We'll leave it there. That has been Matt, Dave, Ed, and Mose.
And Jesse Marsh.
And Jesse Marsh, who's tactical insights. We're on Denbigh Castle as ever. Bad night. Got a point at least. We'll catch you soon.
Bottom three.
Alan at bottom three. We'll catch you soon. Off the top east.